Hello there and welcome to the video. We are going to examine a tactical pattern, a pattern that you can, learn and add to your repertoire. And I call this the Kramnik Blunder. Perhaps a little bit unfair to a world champion, and his most famous blunder is perhaps hanging mate in one in his match against the computer Fritz back in around 2000, I can't remember, but nonetheless, this particular tactical pattern, and when I think of it, I think of this game, a high-level game between Kramnik with white and Kramnik-Svidler with black, and this was played in the candidates, so obviously a very important game. And let's look at what happened. So Svidler with black, he played bishop to d6. Bishop goes to a very active diagonal and targets the knight. In the game, Kramnik went for knight c6. A move such as knight f3 is probably more solid. There's nothing wrong with knight c6 yet, but it does allow for white, the chance to go wrong. And Svidler played the move knight b6, which does give white an excellent chance to go wrong. Now, in the position, white should play knight d4, and if queen a6, he should play rook c6. And now the trick that we played in the game does not work as well, because at the end of it, this will hang. In a few moments, you will understand what I'm talking about. But to understand, let's see what Kramnik played. After knight b6, hitting the rook, he moved the rook. But the problem with moving the rook is that it opens up an attack on the f1 square. Now, how is this relevant? Well, it is. It's black to move. Your bishop is under attack. I gave you a big hint. This is also under attack. So this is the Kramnik blunder, rook d4. And how did Svidler take advantage of this blunder? We can even flip the board if it's better for you. It's black to move. I'm sure you found it. The move that Svidler played was bishop takes h2. Giving up the bishop for a pawn, but now the king is forced to move. And we can take the rook on f1. Queen takes f1. And from here, the game didn't last much longer. This is move 33. It was 6 more moves, and Svidler won. A pretty bad blunder. So here is kind of the skeleton of the pattern. Normally, of course, there are more pieces, otherwise white would be basically completely winning. But this is kind of the gist of it. We want the queen attacking the rook, and the decoy is the bishop attacking h7. So once we take the pawn, king has to move here or take the bishop, and we take the rook. So this is the essence of the pattern, and let's have a look at a few examples before I leave you with a puzzle which you should be able to solve. So this one is from the game Alekhine with white against Ispinski with black. And Ispinski decided to question the white queen. He played rook to c6. Alekhine retreated, but noticed that the queen keeps an eye on this diagonal. After queen b6, a seemingly active move, white has the killer blow. This is kind of allowing the Kramnik blunder. And Alekhine had no problems here. He took an h7 and then an f8. Won the exchange and the game. The game lasted about 10 more moves, but yeah, it's too much material. This next one is, lesser known players, McCambridge against Robert Frederick. McCambridge played queen to c1. Took an a3. Winning a pawn? Well, not really winning a pawn. Well, he should win a pawn because he should be able to take this next move. unless you fall for it and you commit the Kramnik Blunder and you take on d4, which is exactly what Robert Frederick did. And this opens up the diagonal. And now we know what this means. We can play bishop h7 check. King has to move and we win the exchange. Normally we would win a pawn on h7 as well, but black already moved h6. But this game didn't last much longer, and white won. Funnily enough, when looking for examples of this pattern, I found more than one in Bangkok Gambit, type structures, and this is a clear Bangkok Gambit. Black has this, pressure bishop here. They have the pieces on the b file, and this is a fairly normal alignment of the queen in the Bangkok on the a6. You might trade a bishop there, and queen takes back. Just see what happens. This is an active knight, so white is usually bothered by it and plays h3. The knight goes to e5, we have a trade, and here white needs to be very careful. And in the game, he certainly was not careful, and he played a pretty bad move, b4. I mean, looking at it now, I actually don't really understand the move, because at the worst, black can take on b4 and not be worse. But at the end of the day, this bishop being on c1 is just a fatality. We teach beginners, connect your rooks. White hasn't connected the rooks, and this means that the Kramnik Blunder has occurred. Black can play bishop h2. And if it takes, queen takes f1, black won the exchange. And, well, after a lot of moves, actually, black won the game. Another position from, I think this one was a King's Indian, the other one was a Bangkok Gambit, but a very similar structure. Black has this typical, heavy piece pressure on the A and B files. The very strong bishop on g7. And he kind of sets up the trick here with knight to e5. Maybe he wasn't intending, to play the trick, but white really played into it. He played b3, knight c7. And black is, he'd like to either play, knight a6 to b4 or knight b5 and trade stuff, but he's kind of stuck. But white really, really helped out here with the move knight d1. And Stefan Gross with black, he must have been, laughing on the inside when he saw knight d1, because that disrupts the connection of the rooks. And we can play bishop h2 and take on f1. One more example. I really like this one. White here has won the exchange. Queen on a8 clearly has captured the rook, so black is down the exchange. It's white to move, and when you're up material, you like to trade. So white played queen a3. He wants to trade. If you take, I'll take back. Then I put a rook on the b file, and I win this pawn. With down material, we have to move the queen right, but now we know that white was not intending to trade queens, but to hit this rook and set up this this pattern that we now know. And he played bishop takes h7, and black resigned. So the final position is for you to solve. I'll leave it up to you. So black's last move was knight f6 to e8, intending to take the pawn on d6. And once black does that, even though he's down the exchange, he has one pawn as compensation. And, well, a very strong bishop on d5. So black is trying to play for compensation, trying to hold the draw. If you allow him to take on d6, it's going to be hard to win. But can we find a shortcut, and can we use our pattern to immediately win the game? Tell me in the comments how you would continue with the white pieces. Shouldn't be too difficult after watching the video. Again, tell me in the comments. And again, it never hurts my feelings if you like the video. If you want to help me grow, why not share the video on any of the social media available? There's a lot of them outside, But in any case, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye bye.